and more. With potentially exciting new developments on the horizon, these next few years could prove to be pivotal in the future of the town of Marathon, and your acclaimed mayor and council will play a large role in shaping that future tonight. We therefore feel as though it's important to give our candidates an opportunity to explain how they plan, if elected, to do their part in helping to shape our town in meaningful ways. On that note, thank you, candidates. It is a big step seeking nomination for council, and we do appreciate your commitment to our community. Tonight, we will be hearing from candidates Darlene Cross, Donna Harrison, Raymond Lake, Joel Shire, Zachary Suki, Kelly Tabushi, and Todd Wheeler. Candidate Gregory Valance has sent his regrets for this evening, and our thoughts are with Greg and his family during this heartbreaking time for them. As we won't be taking questions live tonight, we allowed community members to submit their questions in advance for the candidates online. We received an abundance of great questions and tried our best to incorporate as many as possible for tonight's event. We will allow candidates the opportunity to introduce themselves and speak to their platforms, and each answer the same series of questions for the first 8. We will do that in a waterfall format. So we selected numbers in advance to determine the seating placements of the candidates. And as an example, Joel is number 1. So he will answer the first question. It'll now move along the line. And then the next question will be started with Ray Lake, and so on and so forth. After those communal questions are answered, there will be a randomized selection of questions, and there will be a minute per question. We will notify candidates when 15 seconds is remaining, and that'll be your opportunity to gather those thoughts and conclude, and we'll move on to the next ones. We did receive an abundance of responses online, which was great from the community. Some similar questions were grouped together, and we do apologize as some individuals wished those questions to be answered across the board. However, in the essence of time, we weren't able to allow for that. So we do encourage the community that if you have specific questions for candidates, reach out, as I know a number of them are very accessible to your questions beyond tonight. So I'll now turn things over to our moderator for the evening, Al Creswell, who is generously giving us time for tonight's event. And as we finish, we will wrap up with platforms conclusions at the end. So here is Al.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, those online. You know who I am. I was just introduced by Dana. Before we commence this evening's event, I'd like to call upon His Worship, who was acclaimed once again, Rick Dumas, to say a few words. Your Worship.
Well, it's like in the stands, Mr. Cresswell.
You can come sit in your chair. I'll let you have it for 5 minutes.
5, thank you. First off, let me take the opportunity to thank Al for inviting me down to say a few words, and thank the chamber for hosting this evening's candidates night. I'd like to take the opportunity to also recognize that one of our fellow councillors is having some personal issues in Toronto. So I want to say good luck to Gregory and Britt, and hope everything goes well for them as well. Take the opportunity to thank all of you for running, and of course the existing council members from last term. So I really appreciate working with you, and wish everybody good luck tonight, and an opportunity to put your platform forward and give the community what you want to bring to the community for the next 4 years. I look forward to working with whoever is elected, and wish you all good luck this evening, and of course on the election day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this evening we picked numbers from 1 to 8, 1 to 7 actually, I apologize. And candidate Joel Shire was the one that selected number 1. So Joel has between 2 to 4 minutes to explain his platform and why he's decided to run for town council. Joel?
Hello, my name is Joel Shire. Many people know me as Elbows, especially in the fishing community. My parents have resided here in Marathon for about 18 years, and during my many visits over those years, before I moved here, I recognized my parents were aging and would soon require support. So therefore I relocated here 10 years ago, actually, as of this past August. The community welcomed me with open arms, and it's allowed me the opportunity to make strong friendships. And then I'm very proud to say that Marathon is now my home. I'm an outdoors person and enjoy fishing and hunting, and it's fair to say I fell in love with Marathon the first time I came here to visit my parents after they moved here. I own and operate Two Dogs Contracting, which is a small renovation and contracting company. My business has allowed me the opportunity to meet people outside of my friendship circle and respect each and every one, and thank everybody for all their support that's allowed me to make a living here. I've been involved with the Al Dixon Fish Derby as an organizer since its inaugural derby in 2018. And I understand the economic benefits such as an event like this offers to businesses in the area and community, as well as anglers of all ages. And I plan to continue and grow this as much as possible for as many years as I can keep it going. My volunteering has ignited my passion for community involvement, and in order that I better understand and stay current with all that is happening, I've been attending in the town council meetings, like watching them online and stuff like that, regularly for the past couple of years or so. I wanted to learn the specifics and how the decisions are made, and if elected, be a part of the decision making for all the residents of Marathon. In the business and in very much passionate about the outdoor development of this town. I'm an enthusiastic and detail-oriented person with a drive to make change for good for all residents and voters alike. If elected, I would be a strong advocate and bring your ideas and concerns to the table. It is no secret, and lots get said in the background about decisions made about council, and I'm guilty of it myself. This is why I've decided to put my name forth in the election, throw my hat in the ring. And I am asking for your support so I can bring those concerns and to council and be your voice. I acknowledge all of the great work that the councilors have done before over the years. There's been a lot of great work in this town. And with the current council itself has achieved and given the opportunity, I will commit to learning my role, working as a team, and move forward in a positive way to affect change for all. Asking for your votes.
Thank you very much, candidate Shire. Up next, candidate Ray Lake.
Again, thank you to the chamber and to Al for having us here. So when I was first elected to council, I was Ray Lake, the youngest member of council. I'm not speaking as the youngest candidate anymore. I was reflecting that it was actually in that first year of council in 2006 that my first child was born. They're graduating high school this year. And I think back to when I was in high school and I couldn't wait to get out of Marathon. It was too small. I was chomping at the bit to go out and see the world. And I did. I went away to university and I lived in different towns. And when I would come back, like Joel, to visit my parents, I began to realize that at the heart of my relationship with this town was love. And I love this town. I love the land and I love the people. And for my own children, I think, they're chomping at the bit to go out to and explore the world. But I just think that, as people get out, you start to realize what we have here. We're isolated. We're away from the world in lots of ways. And that's a good thing and a bad thing at times. But we're here together, right? And I just have always felt like, on this little island of Marathon, we're a community that works hard. We're resilient people. We look out for each other. We make solutions for ourselves. My time on council, there's been lots I've been proud of and some things that I haven't. I think we've made mistakes. When I look to the future, though, I think about where we were, 12 years ago when things were in trouble. I feel like we're at this great moment of growth and change. I would certainly love to be part of managing that growth and making decisions on behalf of everybody in Marathon. I think we've done a great job at, growing relationships with Beattigan and First Nation partners. And I just think when I think about that, graduating Ray way back when and my own child graduating now, I just think that, this community raised us. And we were taught by my parents and the way I've taught my child that you give back. I'm excited for that opportunity. And there's deep and abiding affection for our community drives me, and I would love to serve another 4 years on behalf of the community.
Thank you, candidate Lake. Up next, candidate Todd Wheeler.
Good evening. My name is Todd Wheeler. I have lived in Marathon almost my whole life. I left for 4 years to attend Cambrian College in Sudbury, where I graduated from the mining engineering technology program. My passions are very outdoors based. I enjoy hunting, fishing, and exploring the riches of outdoors that we have in our local area. I'm also passionate about conservation and protecting our local environment. If elected, I will proudly represent all of the outdoorsmen and outdoorswomen of Marathon. I currently work for Barminco Mining Services Canada as an automation operator. I have worked in the mining industry for over 18 years and have my professional designation as a certified engineering technologist. I have been a professional in the mining industry for over 11 years. In my mining career, I have worked in all parts of the mining industry, ranging from feasibility planning on projects at an engineering firm to surveying and planning and budgeting in an open pit operation, as well as operating heavy equipment underground. I feel my mining knowledge and experience would be an asset to the community moving forward, with generation mining moving closer to production and the potential of more mining projects starting in our area. I've always had an interest in politics, but was always too nervous and anxious to get involved. Over the last few years, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been lots of criticism of politicians at all levels. I didn't feel this was right. I don't agree with all the decisions made by our previous councils and our leaders at all levels of government, but I believe that they're just doing what they thought was best with the information that they have. But instead of being like lots of people and going on the internet complaining, I thought it was time to see if I could do better. I want to learn how our municipal government runs from the inside. I'd like to be transparent with the community so they know why things are happening. Marathon has been growing a lot, as everybody can see. We're seeing a lot of change in a short period of time. Change can be overwhelming to people, but it also can be really exciting. I think we need to find the right balance between change and progress in our community so we can keep the same heritage and traditions that has made Marathon what it is today, and make it Marathon somewhere that we can all be proud of. I make my living in the mining industry. Like I said, I'm the second generation of my family to work at Humlo. But I believe Marathon needs to work more to have rely on industries, not just as mining. With the current political climate, the war in Europe and potential of more conflicts in Asia, mineral prices are very volatile and the cost of running a mining operations in Northern Ontario are very high. Marathon needs to, I believe, be in a position where it can still be a thriving community, even if gold prices were to drop or there'd be a slowdown or shutdown in the gold mining in our area. The environment and climate change are two hot topics right now. There's no magic fix to climate change or global warming. Most people can't even agree if it's happening or how serious it is. One thing I know is we live in one of the most beautiful and ecologically diverse places in the world, with an abundance of wildlife and clean water. We need to be sure we are doing everything we can from the municipal level to protect our clean drinking water and this great environment that we all live in. The late Jack Layton said in one of his books that politics are too important to be left to politicians, and I couldn't agree more. Everybody in the community, I believe, has a part to play. And I feel now that the time is right for me to do my part as a councillor. I'd like to thank the Marathon and District Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's meeting, and to Al Creswell for being our moderator, and to everybody that took the time to be here and watching on the live stream and taking the time to get to know all the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Wheeler. Can you guys hear them? No problem up there? Pretty good? All right. Up next, candidate Kelly Tabuchi.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Tabuchi, and I'm asking for your vote in the coming municipal election. Why am I running for council? I believe there are still things Marathon Council needs to do in the next 4 years that are vital for the community's future, and I want to have a seat at that table. I truly believe that the 2018 election would be my last. The term coincided with my retirement plans, however, and travel was in my future. However, COVID happened, and the council would not be able to move forward with a lot of our agenda and plans. Unfortunately, the town was in crisis mode, and our agenda and our plans and projects were delayed. The way the town had to operate changed daily, weekly, monthly, even yearly. The council was still able to function, but not as productive as I would like it to be. I would like to now acknowledge council, the rest of the councilors and administration for their efforts during these COVID years. It was a tough time. My platform is basically on long-term planning, is my main concern for new council. We now control vast tracts of waterfront and the harbor. In most communities, waterfront property is prime real estate. The town has inherited permits to take water from Lake Superior, which is a rare commodity. We have a rail bed still in place, a new harbor commission that we now control. We have land, rail, air in extent, and water access for our community. Joint ventures between the town and Thunder Bay Tel has brought internet fiber to our community. Marathon Council must make plans, concrete plans for the waterfront. The dream of attracting large industry or pulp and paper is over. Multi-use waterfront development is the key to Marathon's future. The future mines are also a priority for council. As much as I welcome the opportunity of new mines will provide, we must remember that our rush to accommodate in the 1980s led the town into some difficult times. Council must ensure we have assurances for whoever opens the new mine that we'll have a binding legal agreement in place to mitigate the stresses on our infrastructure and community. Remember, this mine is a multi-million-dollar project with billions in profits, and our demands is not going to make or break this project if it is viable. But we do need to ensure that, unlike Hemlo, it does not break Marathon. Why should you vote for me? I have the knowledge of 25 years on council. I have seen all three main parties form governments and have had to work with them and their different levels of policies and beliefs. I believe I know how government works and the pace at which programs are implemented. There will be no learning curve. The next 4 years is unique in a situation where we have a somewhat stable federal coalition government in place, provincial government with a 4-year mandate, and this next council will have 4 years also to coincide with that. All government will be exiting COVID and will be looking for either two ways, either cut the spending or stimulate the economy to jumpstart recovery. And that is why I believe it is important to have an experienced councillor in place at that time. There will be programs coming forward or there will be cutbacks, but we have to be able to mitigate those concerns and we have to be able to manage our growth in a controlled and in a way that the community controls the growth and we're not chasing growth. Thank you, and we'll hope for your support.
Thank you, candidate Sabushi. Up next, candidate Donna Harrison.
First of all, good evening, Mr. Cresswell, Your Worship, Mayor Dumas, administration, those attending in person, those watching live on the Facebook feed, and my fellow candidates, including Mr. Greg Bounds, who sadly, due to very heartbreaking personal circumstances, is unable to attend. I think it's fair to say I speak for everyone here when I say our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family at this tragic time. My name is Donna Harrison, and I was born and raised in Thunder Bay. I'm a true Northern Ontario girl at heart, and I have been a proud resident of Marathon for 8 years. I instantly fell in love with this community and its sense of togetherness, and my roots are now firmly planted here. As the mother of a 5-year-old, very active little boy, I cannot imagine raising him anywhere else, and I'm excited to see those roots grow and blossom. The town of Marathon, its beautiful landscapes, and its amazing residents have so much to offer, and I'm honored to call it our home. I work as the Outreach and Service Specialist with Northwest Employment Works here in Marathon, and I'm also a member of the Parent Council at Holy Savior School. I graduated with my Business Administration diploma from Confederation College in 2004. As a strong believer in continued education and learning, professional development, and personal improvement, I'm also currently working towards my social service worker diploma, also through Confederation College. I submitted my candidacy for a seat on town council because I'm passionate about this town and its residents. I feel I have the energy, enthusiasm, and dedication to become more actively involved in this amazing town. I understand the civic responsibility of this position and assure you that I am ready and willing to work hand in hand with other council members, as well as administration, to represent this thriving community. I would like to serve as a voice for those who have something to say but don't have the means or ability to do so themselves. Since announcing my candidacy for town council, I've had the pleasure of having several discussions surrounding not only why I want to hold a seat as councillor and what I stand for, but also some of the changes and improvements residents would like to see and how I may possibly implement those changes. I'm excited for the opportunity to expand on those discussions by answering the questions proposed this evening, and would like to thank the Marathon District Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's events. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Harrison. Up next, candidate Zach Suki.
Thank you, Al. I'm sure most of you know me, but for those of you who don't, I'm Zach Suki. I was born and raised here in Marathon. First left in 2007. Went to Lakehead University, took kinesiology, graduated in 2011 with my honors Bachelor of Kinesiology, which took me to Toronto, where I attended Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College, graduated there in 2015 with my Doctor of Chiropractic degree. My wife and I, Elizabeth, also my business partner as well. We moved to Marathon August 2015, where we took over the existing chiropractic practice. Fast forward a few years, now have a couple of kids, 3-year-old and a 1-year-old daughter. Both of my daughters are the 5th generation to have lived in Marathon. So I got great grandparents that have also lived here as well. Having some municipal political experience in the family as well. I've always had an interest in being involved with the community in any aspect or in any regard. When I graduated high school, I graduated Lieutenant Governor General Award for most volunteer hours during my, what should have been 4 but 5 year in high school, by choice. So up until the last 6 months, when I first got involved with council, I've had almost 6 months of experience with council. And it's been very humbling, very educational. I've learned a lot, still have a lot left to learn should I be elected. So that's, I'm very, very passionate about Marathon. I've participated in all kinds of different recreation and educational avenues that it has to offer. And it also interests me what more Marathon can offer as well, right? I think, our doors are wide open and what they can offer, focus on a few little things, and, the participation levels are high in those activities, but not necessarily everyone has the privilege or the access to some of those activities. Okay. So I think the next 4 years, Marathon's sort of on an uprise right now. There's lots of decisions that can be made to help set the future for not only me, but my kids or your kids and your grandkids, and what they are left with once, anyone moves away or passes and that sort of thing. Most importantly, the council should work as a team with their fellow council members, with administration, effective communication between all parties to help achieve common goals. And, it's nice having council. They could all bring different ideas to the table, and having people from different avenues, right? You have Todd and Joel, big outdoor guys, and then myself. I'm not tied into any one particular thing, but just interested in all the above. Some things that I feel that are important. I don't have any super flashy ideas or not one common thing I'm trying to achieve. I just literally want like what we think is best for Marathon collectively, not just myself. A big part is advocating and supporting our volunteers and small user groups and local businesses. So local businesses that help promote tourism or smaller businesses as well. Expanding our municipal services as well. I think important municipal services are what keeps attracting people to Marathon. You see so many people here, in my business, I get many new patients that move to Marathon, sell houses in Southern Ontario just because of what Marathon has to offer, right? So I think it does a good job, and we need to do a good job of catering to different demographics as well. So working together as a team, and then obviously, as they mentioned, with lots of growth on the horizon, just doing that responsibly.
Thank you, candidate Suki. And last but not least, candidate Darlene Cross.
Good evening, Marathon. I am Darlene Cross. I moved to Marathon 15 years ago to work as a mining engineer. I enjoy hockey, swimming, and beekeeping, but I couldn't stop there. So I volunteered for the fire department, animal shelter, and I even sat on a few town committees. Today, I'm semi-retired so I split my time between volunteering, plowing the highway in the winter, and being a reservist in the Royal Canadian Navy. So who am I, and why would you vote for me? Firstly, as a firefighter of 12 years, I've seen and I've helped people when they were at their most vulnerable. I have passed the tests for courage, for empathy, and I know how to end the chaos. As a naval reservist, well, it's not much different, but for king and country. As a licensed engineer, I understand how my mistakes can hurt me, so I'm diligent. Finally, I've lived here a long time and I plan on many more years, so I want to play a part in preparing this town for the future. In short, my passion is green, sustainable, affordable, and happy. And to those who know me, you'll agree I've got energy to burn. Thank you, Marathon, and mark an X next to Cross.
Thank you very much, candidate Darlene Cross. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the 7 of 8 candidates that just presented their platforms of why they expect you and would hope that you do vote for them coming up in the municipal elections. Election day is October 24th, but we're going to go through a process at the end of this evening of how Marathon will be casting their ballots this year. Up next, we have 8 questions. We ended up with a lot, and I mean a lot of questions, as Dana told us. And so they rounded up to the top 8 questions. Each candidate will be asked to answer each question. They have 1 minute with 15 seconds left. Darlene's going to ring the bell a little louder, and we'll be able to go from there. So each candidate, starting off again with candidate number 1, Joel Shire. Here's the question. Now, if you want me to repeat it, okay, every time, let me know, and we'll try and speak as clear as possible if you don't mind, please. Question number 1. What is your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a councillor for the town of Marathon? What skills, interests, personal qualities, and values do you possess that make you a good candidate for council? Candidate Shire.
Well, as a small businessman, I've been working for myself for approximately 22 years. I have a lot of good ideas to help make things move and flow, and work well with the team. I used to have quite a few guys who used to work for me and work with me. As far as what I know about council, that's why I'm here. I want to learn it. I want to just work as a team to help and keep this town moving forward in a proper direction.
Thank you, candidate Shire. Candidate Lake, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what, I think when I remember getting onto council, I was thinking that I had to have all the ideas to bring and that I would be moving chairs and running things. And it became very clear to me very early that it's a governance position, that we direct administration to complete tasks. We set the agenda for the community. We listen to the community, we bring that, but it really is a governance position. I think in terms of what skill you can bring, it really is this ability to listen. I think, you know, at the end of the day, we're all from the same community, so we can disagree. And I think you have to bring your passion and you have to bring your ideas and you have to bring your stance, but you have to be willing to compromise and you have to be willing to speak with one voice at the end of the day. I think that's something council has done very well. And I think that is probably the biggest skill I see.
Thank you, candidate Lake. Up next, candidate Wheeler, you're okay with the question?
Yeah.
Okay, fire away.
I feel the role of council, like Ray was just saying, is to govern the community, to lead the administration. I'm running in this to learn more about how council works, what impact they can have on the community, what I could do to, I feel like I can help that. My skills as in engineering, I'm a strategic thinker, a critical thinker. I like to look at things from like a broad view, like 1,000-foot view. I feel that those skills would help being on council, as well as I'm very open-minded. I like to listen to people's ideas. I don't judge people. I like to be part of things. I feel those skill sets would be the best that would help me being on council.
Thank you, candidate Wheeler. Up next, candidate Sabushi.
I think the qualities are, or how I understand government, and I'll reiterate what Councillor Lake said, it is really a governance, and I think the broader thing is vision and policy. I think is the keys, things that a councillor should possess. A vision, either long-term, vision short-term, vision on where you'd like to see a community go. Hope is another thing you need to have as a councillor. What I bring to it, I was in the business, the beer business for 40 somewhat years. I probably saw everybody in town at least twice a year, the long weekend and Christmas. I had a sense of community. I came here before the boom, the Hemlo boom. So I saw what it did to the community and how we were able to prosper. But I think one of the biggest things that I bring is to build willing to work with each other and then question in both administration about why their ideas are being brought forward.
Thank you, candidate Sabushi. I'll repeat the question for the other three candidates. What is your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a councillor for the town of Marathon? What skills, interests, personal qualities, and values do you possess that make you a good candidate for council? Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. As far as the roles and responsibilities, my interpretation of it and my understanding is that it is to somewhat develop, but also to govern the policies and procedures set in place, as well as new ones that are implemented, and also to implement the corporate strategic plan that council develops. As far as skills, interests, and qualities, I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, I'm adaptable, I'm a team player, and I can bait my own hook and fillet my own fish.
Thank you, candidate Harrison. Candidate Suki.
Thank you, Al. So as far as, sound a little bit repetitive here, the role of the counselor, so it is to help guide the role of administration, and as Donna mentioned, develop a strategic plan of where you see and your community sees the town within your 4-year term. Also, to being responsible fiscally within that term as well, in terms of personality traits. So I think I would bring to council is just honesty, straight up. If I bring a concern to me, I'll let you know, I'll acknowledge that concern and bring it to the table as well. Of integrity or integral. But so I hold myself to a high standard. I expect the best out of myself in anything, and should I be elected, I expect a high performance from that as well, and transparent. I just want your input, and I will, decisions will be made accordingly.
Thank you, candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
Hello. Yes, there's probably two sides to being a candidate. I mean, you have to be professional, because there is the dry side, I call it, and that's dealing with the policies, the governance, your administration. But then there's the fun side. There's looking at the community, talking to them, getting ideas, their feedback. But you have to, and you have to always remember, and that's part of professionalism, is sometimes you can't always think about what you want. Maybe that's the dry side too, as you put them ahead of you. And it's what it's all about, is tolerating each other for the betterment of the town. And I'll full stop there.
Thank you very much, candidate Cross. The second question, again, 1 minute responses, 15 seconds, the bell will be ringing. We'll start off with candidate Lake. When you think about what makes Marathon a great place to live, work, and play, what comes to mind?
It's a great question, because it is a great place to live, work, and play. I think about the town that I inherited from my parents, where I was able to, do all the recreation I wanted, get a great education, be outside, learn to hunt and fish, connect with the land, learn about Indigenous cultures. And I think about this land that we borrow from our children, and I think that's the thing we need to give back to them. I'd love to see a rec center that we can have children participate in, if we can make that work. I think we need to have education system that is healthy and robust, and I think we should strive to leave to our children the same sort of great place that we grew up in.
Thank you, candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler.
So for live, work, and play at Marathon, those are all the big strengths that Marathon has. As far as living, Marathon's a very safe place to live. Very little crime, very little concerns that you have for your safety while living here. As far as working goes, one thing Marathon has definitely is high paying resource jobs. It is a great place to work. I've worked at Hemlo for over 12 years and it's been a great place to work. As far as playing, there's so many different things in Marathon that make it great. From like, I love hunting and fishing, but we also have the golf course. We have multiple hockey leagues to play in, soccer, baseball, like Marathon. As far as live, work, and play, there's very few places that are as good as Marathon.
Thank you, Candidate Wheeler. Candidate Sabushi.
Live, work, and play. That's a great ad we had. But one of the things I think, well, work-wise, is we need to diversify our economy. I don't think tourism is the answer, but it is a remedy. It can fill the gaps to the other high-paying jobs. Living here, I think we need to manage the growth. I mean, we all know that housing is an issue that we'll have to deal with. Infrastructure is an issue. We have a backlog of some projects that we need to address sooner or later. And play, and again, I'll reiterate Councillor Lake, I believe in the new recreation or active living center, but the cost I don't believe in. So I think we really need to figure out how we're going to manage that if we can manage it. And I think that the other one is the outdoors. We have the connection to Lake Superior, and I think with the development of Pebble Beach and further development, hopefully, of Penn Lake, Puckasaw, and Nays, we'll be able to attract that tourism passing through.
Thank you, Candidate Sabushi. Once again, the question, when you think about what makes Marathon a great place to live, work, and play, what comes to mind? Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. As far as a great place to live, I think the sense of community is outstanding. I do believe that we need to work a bit more on keeping it a safe community for all residents, but especially our children who are growing here. As far as working, I think it's an amazing place to work. However, I think we need to work on bringing, especially working professionals and their families to the community. There is an abundance of shortages in sectors such as social service worker, counselors, nurses, etc. And I think we need to work on that. As far as play, there are plenty of things to do here for everyone. However, I believe firmly that a new active living center is essential. Not just essential, but a necessity. And that's something I would like to work toward.
Thank you, Candidate Harrison. Candidate Suki.
Opportunity. I think Marathon, you got all the opportunity in the world to do what you want. Should you have the luxury of doing so. Great education, so much recreation, great services. Some of those services can use a little bit more support. Healthcare here for a small rural Northern Ontario town, we're pretty darn fortunate for the healthcare that we do receive here. Live. I think Marathon is approaching that in a reasonable way. There's currently 80 units going up, 30 now by the old mill site, 80 or 50 in Penn Lake. So addressing some of those concerns as well.
Thank you, Candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, firstly, we're blessed to live in a rich and democratic country, and that helps a lot. Strategically located, Marathon's between the two cities of Sault Ste. Marie and Thunder Bay, and we can take that to our great advantage. We also have land, of course, water right here at our disposal, and we have natural resources that we can still utilize. Looking ahead, though, of course, as what's happened with our pulp mill, maybe the same thing may happen with our resources. I don't know. So yeah, the need to diversify, focus on more variety, definitely. Micro industries, perhaps. Focus more on education, as was previously said, like a nursing program, maybe. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Candidate Cross. Candidate Shire.
Well, as far as work goes, this little town is giving me quite a decent little living, and as it's growing, it just keeps it going. All these old mine houses that were built 35 years ago or so, it keeps me rolling. At the same time as the town is growing, we need to keep up with the outdoor activities and things like that. There's giving people places to live, but there's also giving them something to do. And as long as we can balance that to keep that rolling, the waterfront development and things like that, that's great. Maybe another rec center, depending. Maybe not as extravagant as what's been talked, but keep everybody busy. And to live here, I come from big city and I'm in a small town. This is where I belong. This is where a lot of people belong.
Thank you, candidate Shire. Question number 3. Tell us about our community and the challenges we face. Tell us about our community and the challenges we face. Candidate Wheeler.
Like I brought one thing I brought up in my opening remarks was about relying too heavily on the mining industry. That's one challenge I could see, that if the mining industry was to go away in this area, Marathon would be in a challenge. I would like to see more industry that's not based on that, maybe some more tourism. With the waterfront development could open up to a lot more different industries. And I think that's something that the future Marathon needs to look at, is how to utilize that waterfront to bring more industry to Marathon.
Thank you, candidate Wheeler. Candidate Tabushi.
The challenges, I think, are every day. I mean, we're looking at an economy that's trying to rebound, and I think that's moving forward. The biggest concern I foresee is how the other levels of government are going to manage recovery. And I think Marathon, unfortunately, is going to have to be resilient and plan on how we can work with those levels of government to better position ourselves to, as people say, in my thoughts, diversify our economy in the sense that, again, we've always been a resource based, and there's nothing wrong with it. They provide great jobs. But again, we're going to have to find something else. There may be a need or a will to travel. I mean, I noticed that because air traffic was kind of stalled or inconvenient, that maybe that's the way we should look at being a transportation hub, looking at those avenues. But I think the biggest challenge is working with the other levels of government on how we can all exit COVID and get on the road to recovery.
Thank you, candidate Tabushi. The question once again, tell us about our community and the challenges we face. Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. I think there are definitely challenges that we face. One of them being housing. We all know that there is a shortage of housing, affordable housing for basically market rent units, houses for purchase. And in addition to that, employment. We know that there are a lot of jobs available right now, both in the big industry as well as small business, and everyone is having a hard time filling those. I think we need to work on what the issue is and how to solve it. Another issue or another challenge that we face is youth migration. Our youth leaving, and we need to implement a way and come up with strategies to recruit them back. I definitely support education and going away to school. And another one that I believe we face is supporting and being able to support our small businesses, especially coming out of the pandemic.
Thank you, candidate Harrison. Candidate Suki.
I think certainly a big challenge that we face with Marathon is some of the aging infrastructure that we have, whether it be our existing arena or some of our existing recreation facilities, and also some of the buildings that our services are in. So either developing or improving some of the existing infrastructure is a big issue. Hand in hand with that, which will also be a challenge, is that the cost of improving or developing new infrastructure will be a challenge as well. So exploring different funding and what different level of governments are willing to put out there to help offset some of those costs is a big part. And then staff, retaining, staff, or whether it be for healthcare or even just for our administration team, with some people, on their way out eventually over the next 2 years. So, finding suitable candidates for that as well.
Thank you, candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
I'll focus on challenges. Like something that's happened recently to our town is we're losing mechanical expertise. Where do you take your camper, your snowmobile, your ATV to get fixed? We need that. Those holes are going. The Moose Hall, we just lost that as a potential venue. We lost the curling club. we're also getting new people coming in here and they've got young families, they got little kids, so we need to focus on the young ones. How about daycare? I'm not. We're looking at our waterfront needs to be improved. Maybe we can. I understand tourism may not be a great idea, but I could see chip stands down there, you know, little restaurants helping, more education to diversify, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Candidate Cross. Candidate Shire.
Just with the town growing so fast and it's coming in, it's about keeping up with the outside recreation, anything like that. Keep little minds busy and older minds busy. The waterfront development is really, I think, is a big thing. And a lot of it is a little less expensive than building rec centers. Our season is a bit short, so that's where it gets challenging too. Tourism, I think is a good idea to really promote this little town, because you bring in the tourism, people like it, they may come back and stay. And it's to bring the trades, try and get trades to come in. We're losing all the skilled people, and as we're getting older, the skilled guys, it's falling down. But trying to keep attracting people at the same time as it's growing.
Thanks, Candidate Shire. Candidate Lake.
So when I was growing up, I grew up on Lloyd Irwin Street, and when I came back for my first year of university, I couldn't find Penn Lake because Hemlow Drive had been built and all those crescents were there and all the old paths were gone. And I just remember thinking how much this town changed once the new mine came, and we're facing that kind of growth again. And I just think managing that growth and being ecologically responsible and negotiating some sort of impact benefit agreement with that mine so that we grow at the right pace and we grow so that it fits our community is really the big challenge I see in the next 4 years.
Thank you, Candidate Lake. Question number 4. Marathon has some potentially exciting developments in the works. For the candidates, what is your understanding of these developments? Candidate Tabushi.
Well, obviously, we're talking about the mine. I was privy to the EA course, and I think what we have to understand is that they are coming to our community. We will be as welcoming as we can, but they also, from my perspective, they also have a responsibility to us as a community as we're going to be hosting them. And I agree, and I've stated it before, I think we need some kind or a legally binding agreement with, and I needed to, and I truly believe we need it as part of the EA record so that whoever opens that mine is bound to an agreement with the town of Marathon on how we manage and accommodate them. We learned from Hemlow that we spent to try and attract the mine. These mines will come because it is economically viable for them to come, and they will make a profit. And one of the things I think we need to understand is taxation is one thing, but it'll be 5 years before we get a cent out of them.
Thank you, Candidate Tabushi.
Thank you.
Candidate Harrison.
I think there are many potential developments in the works, and certainly including Generation PGM, but there are others as well, such as the Port Authority. We've already developed the fish farm in partnership with Beektagon Nishnavik, and I think we need to continue to work along those lines. Also, again, I'm going to bring up the arena or the active living center. I do think it's imperative to our growth, not only for our current residents, but for those coming in. We need a place to be able to host events, to have recreation for our youth right up to our seniors. And the center that we have right now, the arena, is just not feasible anymore. I know that the electrical is at its absolute maximum. If anything goes wrong that requires new equipment, it may be likely that it won't even be able to facilitate it. So after the bell, thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Harrison. I'll repeat the question, Zach. Marathon has some potentially exciting developments in the works. What is your understanding of these developments?
All right, so I think there's definitely multiple developments on the horizon for Marathon, the big one being PGM. And as candidate Tabushi alluded to, I do think it's important to form some type of community benefit agreement and an oversight committee as well. A couple of days ago, Beektagon just signed a community benefit agreement with Gen PGM. So I think it's important, you know, eventually the new council does get elected, they follow suit with that. and look out for the best interests of Marathon and their future. Again, Port Authority as well, so, existing council, current council and administration have been working diligently on that, on future developments and economic growth down there as well.
Thank you, candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
Oh, yeah, new stuff coming on board that I can think of is, of course, the new mine to open. Looking at the Pebble Beach development, and I'm looking at housing. So of course, we, as was pointed out by Kelly there, is we have to understand that when big companies come in here, great, they hire people, but they're here for their reasons, not necessarily for the town's reasons. So there's actually a big challenge for us. And another little easier way of getting around that is if we improve our micro industries here in our town. Looking at Pebble Beach, I love it. They're going to fix it up. And I'm also seeing that as a big improvement for kids, because we need to improve playgrounds for kids. Full stop. Houses, that's great. But now that we're getting more houses, that may push into creating streets, extending them. And thanks a bunch.
Thank you, candidate Cross. Candidate Shire.
Well, with the mine and housing and everything else that's coming in, this is the part about trying to get into council here right now. This is the things that gotta learn it all, get it all figured out, because sitting on the outside right now, we're not privy to all this information. And this is what I want to learn, just to make sure that as it advances, ideas and working as a team can make it go all in the right direction at the same time.
Thank you, candidate Shire. Candidate Lake.
Sure, thanks. I think obviously the mine across the highway is what people think about when we think about these developments. But when I think about what I'm most proud of and what I put my most hope in, it's the relationship with Bitigan. Some of the really creative things that I think can come out of that partnership that are already starting. The fish farm is a great example. We've heard about diversification of the economy, but the relationship and the years have been put into building that relationship by mayor and council are starting to bear fruit. And actually, when I think about who I want to partner with, it's not a multinational company that's going to come and go. It's with the people that have owned this land forever and that our relationship is bound to. So I think when I think about development, that's really the group that I think about working.
Thank you, candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler.
So as far as knowing about upcoming developments, as being someone that's running for council for the first time, a lot of the information about these developments, most of what we hear is just a lot of rumors. Some of the information that comes out about developments like Penn Lake, there was lots of good pictures. We got to see what that's about. But as far as some of the other developments, as far as like the PGM mine, the waterfront, a lot of it that we hear is like rumors or even press releases that aren't really clear about what's going on. So yeah, I think there's some exciting developments coming up, but we need to be more transparent about what is actually making it clear information that people can understand.
Thank you very much, candidate Wheeler. Question number 5 is a loaded question. It's a 2-part question. Good luck. Are you in favor of a new arena recreation complex? If so, are you also in favor without federal and provincial assistance on the project? Part 1. Part 2, what factors would you consider in selecting a site for the proposed new recreation complex? What, if any, changes would you like to see as part of the proposed complex? I'll repeat that question. It is a good one. Are you in favor of the new arena/recreation complex? If so, are you also in favor without federal and provincial assistance on the project? Secondly, what factors would you consider in selecting a site for this proposed new recreation complex? And what, if any, changes would you like to see as part of this proposed complex? Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. I will do my best to answer in under a minute because I have a lot to say about this. I think you can already kind of tell that I very much support a new active living center for both our youth as well, like I said, right up to our seniors. I believe that, and you can look in the case for funding that the town has already developed, they're estimating that the current arena will have to be shut down by 2025. I believe I've been told that the estimated costs for the new arena are between $55 and $60 million, which sounds like a lot, but you have to consider how much is it going to cost to upgrade the new facility to make it runnable, basically, and for how long. Number one, it's not accessible. And it has to be accessible by 2025. So yes, I support a new arena, with or without funding from the federal and provincial government. Otherwise, there's gonna be nothing for our youth to do.
Thank you, candidate Harrison.
You're welcome.
Candidate Suki.
All right, so I'll try to keep it short and concise. And my favorite one, of a new rec facility, yes, if it makes sense, with or without provincial or federal assistance. I think you definitely got to explore those avenues, but I think you sometimes gotta get, it's okay to get creative too and explore other different avenues. What type of services you bring in there also opens up other doors to get additional funding towards this. So I think it does have to happen with some type of financial assistance for sure. So it doesn't fall back on our taxpayers. What site? I think ideally, somewhere in that waterfront, makes the most sense. And what changes? I think it does have to include, an ice surface, a couple curling sheets, a pool, a multi-purpose type of theater, conference room where you can get super creative with that. And then, and it, you know, built out in phases, right? It doesn't have to be one big thing at first, and you look into artificial turf and anything where you can combine one-stop shop for all different services and recreation.
Thank you, candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
Okay, am I in favor? Yes. Because I really think we need a bigger swimming pool. For me, sorry, that's all I'm thinking about. No, and also as far as government grant and all that, maybe I'd be in favor either way. Hopefully our population will be such that maybe we can balance that, or we can talk to Generation Mining to pay for it for us if they want to work here. Kidding. As far as changing, I believe it'll be the same. You'll get a larger pool, ice pad, theater, rooms to work in. And that was the thing with losing our Moose Hall. Hopefully that'll fill that void. However, where it's gonna go, I thought it was gonna go on near Penn Lake, but I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Cross. I'll repeat the question. Are you in favor of the new arena recreation complex? If so, are you also in favor without federal and provincial assistance on the project? Part two, what factors would you consider in selecting a site for this proposed new recreation complex? And what, if any, changes would you like to see as part of the proposed complex? Candidate Shire.
Well, I don't have much information on this, and I really can't even form an opinion to it. I mean, it's a great idea for everybody to have something to do. There's no doubt about it. But if our town can afford it, or we have enough help, of course, it would be a good move to do. At this point, I don't have a real opinion right now.
All right, candidate Shire. Next, candidate Lake.
Yes, 100% in favor of a new active living center. The funding, obviously, provincial and federal would make it viable. But we've already proven as a municipality that we can be creative. Peninsula Manor was not funded in the normal way. We didn't get funding through the DSADs. It was the CAO and of the hospital and the municipality and mayor and council who came together with a creative funding solution. So I don't think we need to rebound in that yes or no on that one. I think there are creative options. And I believe firmly that in Marathon, we're good at making creative choices and that we can get it done with or without federal funding.
Thank you, candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler.
I believe that we do need a new recreation facility. I'm not super informed on how all the finances would work, but I do believe in a perfect world, it would be a partnership between all three levels of government. As far as location, I believe it should be somewhere central, even if it's down by the waterfront when the waterfront's developed. Have it somewhere safe for people to walk to. Lots of parking, have it unlike where it is now where you have to cross a busy street if you park. Have it more thought put into that, and also have it close to services and like food vendors. So that way, if there's an event going on, it could people are spending money in other places of the town, not just at the arena.
Thank you very much, candidate Wheeler. Candidate Sanushi.
Yes, I'm in favor of it. With or without federal funding, probably not, unless we can find some very creative ways in doing it. We've asked administration to look into that, and everybody probably bring something forward to the new council. I've always been opposed to it when it was at the former public school. I thought it was not centrally located. Obviously my platform is waterfront development, and I think that's the cornerstone that we can maybe leverage the money. I think in my article I stated, there's communities that have developed waterfront. Duluth is a prime example for those who walk down it. It used to be a slum warehouse and now it's vibrant. I think it has to be in conjunction with multi-residential, has to be in conjunction with light industry and light commercial. And I think the waterfront is the place to have.
Thank you very much, candidate Tabushi. Question number 6, starting off with you, candidate Suki. How do you intend to improve the community for the youth living in it and making it more appealing for families? Part 1. Part 2.
2 parts.
How do you feel Marathon can better support the LGBTQ and youth? I'll repeat it. How do you intend to improve the community for the youth living in it and making it more appealing for families? And number 2, how do you feel Marathon can better support the LGBTQ youth? Candidate Suki.
All right, so I think Marathon, as it currently stands, does what it can with what it has to help support the youth and attracting families. Clearly, like I have 2 young kids. I moved back here to raise my family because I was born and raised here and know what a good community it is. But I think just as a council and bringing our concerns to administration, we can help support some other recreational avenues that may not currently exist by supporting like lower rental fees or whatever. And then so just expanding certain recreation for activities for those that may not just be interested in hockey or golf. And then we're using other services that aren't always, you know, educated on to certain people, like library offers a lot of different services there. And then for the LGBTQ community, just education, I think, is a big part.
Thank you very much, candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
Okay, improving for the youth. Right now, they're walking around breaking into cars, so I want to develop a Boys and Girls Club for teenagers to go to. Also, of course, for the younger ones, I'm really big on improving playgrounds. Like I want to go for that splash pad. I think that'd be great. Now, looking at better supporting the LGBTQ youth, as my colleague said, education in school for sure, tolerance in our town. And I also thought, well, maybe we should do a pride march. Maybe that would be kind of a cool thing to implement. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, candidate Cross. Candidate Shire.
The LGBTQ, I don't know how many people, my son is gay. This is all about education. Just educate and tolerance. Very good point. But you can only bring tolerance with people that are with an open mind, right? As far as things for kids to do, well, I run the Al Dixon Derby. I volunteer for the Kids Derby up at the gun club. Anything to keep the kids busy and get them interested, especially in our beautiful place that we live, to keep them outdoors and keep them out of trouble. And just, it's the kind of place, it's like when the streetlights come on, that's when you should feel safe, and just keep it going that way. Keep it a small community.
Thank you, candidate Shire. Candidate Lake.
Thanks. Apparently, we're 2 proud fathers of queer kids. And I agree with you. It's about tolerance. It's about talking. Certainly at school, I would say that next generation is so much cooler than with queer culture than my generation was. We didn't even have the words for it. And I appreciate that change. As far as keeping all students busy, certainly I'm a volleyball coach and I'm on Marathon Minor Hockey Board, and I see the role that sports plays in keeping kids connected. It's a place where they can succeed and where they're actually allowed to fail. It's a place where all kids are included, our First Nations and our non-First Nations, our queer kids and our straight kids. It is, I think, one of the central places, and it's back to the recreation facility. I think sports is one of those places where everybody can be together.
Thank you very much, candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler.
For improving the community for youth living in families, I think the waterfront development and a new recreation facility would be a big part of that. Having a recreation facility that had some areas for sports other than hockey would be great, like a multi-use facility for playing different sports there. As well as waterfront development, you could have recreation there, like kayaking, canoeing, clubs. There's all kinds of different outdoor recreation you could have for youth. And for supporting LGBTQ youth, I think there is some education to do in school, but a lot of it is educating the older populations. Finding a program, having some events, just getting education out there for maybe the older people in the community.
Thanks, candidate Wheeler. Candidate Tabushi.
Youth activities, I think I believe one of the biggest things we have to take into account is also not everybody is athletic. So I've been an adamant supporter of the library. I think they provide programming that will fill the gaps people who aren't athletic. The LBG community, I think Marathon needs to take a lead in tolerance. And it's not just the LGBTQ community, it's racially, it's way of life, it's whatever it means. We have to be a tolerant community. By no means am I Christian being Asian, but love thy neighbor. I mean, let's be honest and be nice to your neighbor. So I think that's the biggest thing for anything. And it may be a catchphrase now with pride, but it should be tolerance for everybody. And I think, again, every family has a member of that community in it. So don't think it's something that's new. It's always been around, okay? It's out, it's open, let's be tolerant.
Thank you, Candidate Tabushi. Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. As for youth, to improve the community for youth and families, I think more youth programs are, as well as programs for families as a whole are important. Things such as after-school programs, programs through the library, something such as the Boys and Girls Club are all important and I think necessary. And another one, again, to sound like a broken record, is the new recreation center. I think it can incorporate a lot of those things in one, not just for those that like sports, but programs in general. Things like dance classes, gymnastics. I know my son's always saying, oh, can I take karate? Can I take gymnastics? Well, absolutely, if someone is able to offer it in town. So I think that those things are all important. As far as LGBTQ and supporting the youth, I think it's not only the youth, but the community as a whole is the key. Number one is education, but also the town promoting acceptance and tolerance.
Thank you, Candidate Harrison. Question number 7, starting off with you, Candidate Cross. How would you work towards ensuring meaningful public consultation and engagement? And how would you learn about residents' ideas and concerns? It appears that when an issue arises, there is no public debate nor public discussion held at open council meetings. Are you willing to revisit the policy so that town council holds more town hall meetings and gives the citizens of the town a chance to speak and debate on the issue? I'll repeat the question again. How would you work towards ensuring meaningful public consultation and engagement? And how would you learn about residents' ideas and concerns? It appears that when an issue arises, there is no public debate nor public discussion held at open council meetings. Are you willing to revisit the policy so that town council holds more town hall meetings and gives the citizens of the town a chance to speak and debate on the issue? Candidate Cross.
Well, yes. No, I'll carry on, sorry. What I think for council to become more involved with the public, I thought maybe we could create meet and greet times where you just meet up with each other. And we would invite, like right now, we have like a Christmas meet and greet, but that's just everybody who works for the town. How about other people can come into it as well? And I really wanted to push for what I call environmental assessments of every decision that's made. And that way that pulls the public in because we're asking them to ask us what they think to give us their approval.
Thank you, Candidate Cross. Candidate Shire.
I think it's about transparency. Everything's just got to be thrown on the table so people can see it. And then as counselors, just be an open door. If people want to come and talk to you, be an open door. Write it down, write who had the concerns, and then that's what we do is bring it to the table. I don't know if it's necessarily having to have more meetings about it, but when you have 7 people with the same complaint, say, for lack of a better word, that's something that you bring to the table. If you got 1 person out of 10 that's got one thing to say, that's one thing. But primary concerns, this is where just be an open door, where people can come to you.
Thank you, candidate Shire. Candidate Lake.
I certainly hear the frustration in that question. It's pretty obvious. And I mean, the irony from being on council for so long is the frustration council feels that when we have public meetings, nobody shows up. So it's one of those double-edged swords where I would love to have the solution to that. We've tried different avenues to have public consultation. It's often not a lot of feedback, but I would be open to any creative solutions that increase that communication.
Thank you, candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler.
I feel that social media is a great way to get information out. But as far as getting information back, like comments, stuff like that can be very toxic. So that's probably not the best way to get feedback. But as far as having like town hall meetings, open town hall meetings, there are ways other than in person to do that. That like you can have an online town hall meeting where people actually have to talk instead of just putting in a message. So you actually don't get people just spewing hate and trying to get attention online. I think that may be you might get more support for that than actually having people come to a meeting, but there's probably a balance there of doing both.
Thank you, candidate Wheeler. Candidate Sabushi.
I think everybody I've served on council has been open to the public. And I think one of the things that people have to understand is contact your counselor. That's what we're there for. If you need it and have an issue, contact us. We may not have the solution, but we can either direct you to who you have or let administration handle it. Administration is usually your first line. And from what I usually state is, if you don't get the proper answer or you don't like the answer, then come see me, because it's a policy that needs to be changed in those cases. But information is out there. We post as much as we have. You as a citizen, and again, I'm not blaming you, but you also have a responsibility to ask the questions also. At council, I ask questions. I challenge or I ask, why are we doing this or whatever? And I think whoever gets on council, and if there are new ones, be prepared and make sure you ask the questions, because that's how you can get the answers and that's how you can answer people when they ask you questions.
Thank you, candidate Sabushi. Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. As far as working towards engagement and having residents voice their ideas and concerns, I think the key, kind of what Kelly said was, candidate Tabushi, that being accessible is key. I think anyone up here would be open to questions. Again, we might not always have the answers, and being open and honest. As far as having residents debate certain ideas and whatnot, I don't think it is a bad idea at all. However, I think it needs to be controlled and a more, like Todd mentioned, professional forum rather than Facebook or something like that, can certainly possibly be developed in order for residents to respectfully voice their concerns.
Thank you, candidate Harrison. Candidate Suki.
All right, I have many flaws as a person, but I think one of my strengths is like just community presence and active listening. I communicate with hundreds of, or whether I'm out just in the community with my kids. So I do have a good, strong community presence, and I'd like to feel like I'm fairly approachable and a decent individual most times. As opposed to having open meetings, like, as Councillor or candidate Lake and candidate Tabuchi both mentioned, I think our current way of doing things through delegations, but certainly
engage other community members and entice families to choose Marathon Hill. Would you be in favor of reallocating funds within the municipal budget to further support more marathonians in different areas of interest? And if so, which areas would you suggest? Candidate Shire.
Um, Industry is the attraction, I guess, right now, other than the outdoors. But you can bring them hand in hand. And with the sports, yeah, it's hard to say exactly what to do with that. We have our college, bring them up to be educated up here, things like that. It's hard to say on the attraction, like how to pull that off. It's a tough job for anyone for the community. What we have is the outdoors, I think. I think that's our biggest thing, is to attract people, and the community just small again. Feel your neighbor, be, like, nobody shakes hands no more. Everybody does here.
Thank you, Candidate Shire. Candidate Lake.
You know what? I think we have such an incredibly talented community. I think about the arts and culture in particular. I think about Unplugged for Cancer, the community theater that used to be run out of St. John's, the entertainment series that was run for years and years. That's a place that's not the outdoors, it's not sports. And I think it attracts a whole group of really creative and dynamic people. You go to the markets that are offered, you see all the things that people are making locally. I think certainly supporting those sort of arts and crafts and cultures is a great idea. I certainly know that the library is a great home to that sort of movement. I think, we do support the library. We haven't always had the best relationship with the library, but I think we're working really hard to make that a good relationship. And certainly we would support that as a site for that. But I think, you look at the musicians, the artists in town, I think we certainly could support them.
Thank you, Candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler.
One thing similar to what Ray was just talking about, like arts and crafts, that kind of area, like fiber internet really changed the game for a lot of that stuff here. Now that we have the high-speed internet, we can open up to a lot more technology. So things like a film festival or clubs that promote making films or theater. There's different things of that nature, arts and performing, music, that now with fiber internet, we're open to connecting with the rest of the world in that space. So that's where I would look at, and I would be supportive of relocating funds to exploring what we could do in that space of like technology.
Thank you, Candidate Wheeler. Candidate Tabushi.
I think the biggest thing we can do is support the library, and I've always been an avid supporter of the library. My daughter read book a day. She was a ferocious reader. I think the arts is what's lacking. There arts, I'll say, and culture. We are getting diversified community, and we don't promote that. We don't recognize that. We have people from all continents now living in the community, and I think that's one thing we can develop, and either that through our tolerance or program or inclusion. I think the other thing is, again, as Candidate Wheeler stated, high-speed internet has provided an opportunity. Gaming is something that we can do, or we can coordinate either through programming or through the library or whoever. It is a worldwide industry. It is phenomenal. I have to watch the professionals do it because I have nothing to do, but
thank you, Candidate Tabushi. Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. I think that there are definitely other areas other than sports and outdoors, because even though those areas have a lot to offer for marathonians, there are some that just aren't interested in those things. So I think places like the library, the theater, the Legion have a lot more capability than they're funded for. So I would definitely be in favor of diverting funds. I think there would need to be a lot of investigation done, but I would definitely be in favor for it. I think that unfortunately COVID had a lot to do with this as well, because doing things were geared to the outdoors, especially with all the lockdowns and stuff. But I agree that arts, cultural events, things like the Winter Carnival and the street dance, seeing those again would be great.
Thank you, candidate Harrison. Candidate Suki.
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that, you know, sports and recreation are part of Marathon. You don't necessarily turn a blind eye to that, but there are other many services that will attract people to Marathon, will keep people in Marathon. Those includes services for seniors as well. You know, their recreational days may be behind them to the caliber that they may have used to. So catering to that as well, and social services and healthcare services as well. In terms of relocating funds, obviously in favor of that, and candidate Harrison kind of alluded to that as well. So my sort of thought and some of my ideas including community events, right? You used to have the Music Fest here, and other festivals to bring back Summer Fest or Winter Festival or other different, you know, arts and performing arts events as well.
Thank you, candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
Okay, what I would want to another thing I'd like to focus on, you've heard me several times say, is micro industries. That's going to bring people, as we all know, plastic is the new ore. Also looking at what about breweries, you know, small things. Then we look at hobby farming, you know, dogs, dog training. We already have that going on. Composting, food sustainability. So we're getting into greenhouses, energy sustainability. Let's look at geothermal, wind, solar, education for sure. I was talking about maybe improving a nursing program here, introducing it. Daycare was an issue, so how about, and more social programs, as my colleague was mentioning, so we can improve our education system as well, and that's definitely going to draw people. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Cross. All right, that concludes the first 8 questions answered by all candidates. We ended up with almost 50 questions. So what they've done now with the remaining 42, 43, is we put them and cut them up. In fact, Rick Dumas spent the whole afternoon cutting these up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call upon the first candidate who chose number 1 to come up. Candidate Shire, pick a question, give it to me. That'll give you enough time to sit back. All right, thank you. We'll do this for all 8 candidates. Again, you have 1 minute to which to respond. When you hear the bell at 15 seconds, you don't have to just stop at that point. Just get your train of thought and wrap it up. Here we go. Question number 1 to candidate Shire only. How can the town do better when it comes to seeking feedback from healthcare and social services stakeholders? For example, the Marathon Family Health Team, NOSH, North Superior Programming. During their strategic planning and community development efforts in order to improve community health and well-being in Marathon. I'll repeat it again. Oh, we need a PhD for this one. Where did this come from?
Adam Brown.
Oh, Sarah Newberry and Adam Brown. How can the town do better, Joel, when it comes to seeking feedback from healthcare and social service stakeholders, your Marathon Family Health Team, North Superior Healthcare Group, North Superior Programs, during their strategic planning and community development efforts? You picked the question.
I do.
In order to improve community health and well-being.
I really don't know how to answer that.
No, that's a tough question. It
I
really
know.
is.
You can do it, Joe. You can do it.
I just,
Can we do more to have a better health, well-being here in Marathon? Are you satisfied with the health services now? Is there anything we can
at
do?
times, but this is all, it's all about education, right? And who can do what? It's funding, it's all kinds of stuff. There's so many factors to it. I really don't know how to answer.
Candidate Adam Brown? Well, that's fair enough. No, that's fair enough. That is a tough question. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That is a tough question, but you picked it.
Yeah.
Candidate Lake, come on up.
Good luck, buddy.
Dude, I want the doctor one.
Marry one.
Yeah. I just listened to my wife.
Well, look how thick yours is.
Oh,
Wow.
How long is this one?
This one is 4 pages. Given that, you know it's gonna be a good one. Given that The climate crisis is causing flooding, drought, and wildfires around the globe and is the most pressing issue facing humanity. The emerging economy is rewarding sustainability and carbon neutrality with the availability of government funding for energy savings and carbon neutral projects. Municipal governments are best situated to implement real change at the community level. Here we go. What will your strategy be, if any, to ensure that Marathon practices 7 generations of environmental sustainability and benefits from the economic opportunities of doing so? Where would this strategy fit among your other priorities as a town councillor?
That's a nice short question. I certainly know that climate change is the pressing issue globally. We've had a green initiative program in Marathon in the past. We had water barrels, we've had composters, we've taken little bites, we've got solar panels up. But I do think that lens of looking at all decisions for 7 generations, that lens of looking at things that are going to help sustain the earth is an essential part of what municipalities need to do. I do think, and I'll say that David Giuliano has been public on record saying that some sort of committee needs to be present as we make decisions as a municipality. I think that's an excellent idea. I think having folks with those expertise around the table when we make decisions is essential to making good decisions.
Thank you, Candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler. Look at yours. Your lucky numbers are. Oh. Here we go. Where do you stand on the importance and the need of further support for tourism, local museum, the public library? Where do you stand on the importance and need of further support of tourism, local museum, public library?
I think that they're all very, very important. As being new to council, I'm not exactly sure what support each one is given now. That's something I'm interested in learning about. But they're all important. I think a lot of them are tied together. If we can attract tourism, then that's people that can support the museum by visiting the museum. We can have that tied together. Have that part of like the waterfront development, as if there's things to come and see, or if there's people visiting via the waterfront, they can visit the museum. That's something we can advertise, and as well as the library too. We can have it so it's not just something for the people of Marathon, but as far as people somewhere to visit. So that way that'll create support as well as just support from the town.
Thank you, Candidate Wheeler. Candidate Tabushi. Yes, sir. The Lakeview Community Hall is one of the original buildings left in Marathon. What is your stance on keeping and maintaining the building, or tear it down, and how would you go about doing it, either and when?
Nice.
Geez, that was suited for me. When I was mayor, I had the dubious duty of having to close it down because of fire code and electrical violations. We were lucky enough to get funding from one of the mines at the time to reopen it and refurbish it. We explored it as a historic building. It does not fall within that parameters of being designated a historic building. There's too many alterations. But it is sitting on, again, that prime state real estate, and I hate to dwell on it, but there are, that can be part of either a revamped structure. I think if we do move ahead with the recreation facility, we're going to have to close it. It's just the reality that, we'll design the new active living center to incorporate some of the things, but I think it's the reality, it's on borrowed time as well as the arena.
Thank you, Candidate Tabushi. Candidate Harrison. Candidate Harrison, what would you do as a councillor to provide youth, preteens, and teens with more community supports and places to go after hours and or even on the weekends, other than the pool, skating, or a skate park?
I think there's lots of opportunities for development to support programs like that. One, the library. I know as a mother to a young son who works full-time, the hours are not really conducive, so I would love to see the library expand their hours. Other things, other than, like you said, skating and whatnot, classes, after-school programs, evening classes. Again, I believe you had mentioned about the Boys and Girls Clubs, places like that. So as far as the role of a counselor, again, I'm new to this if I'm elected, so there would be a learning curve, but it's something that I would definitely like to discuss and see if we can add it to the strategic plan.
Thank you, Candidate Harrison. Candidate Suki, come on up, pick your poison. Thank you, sir. As municipal leaders, what suggestions would you have to promote more engagement in municipal politics and to make council more accessible to citizens?
That's it.
Part two.
Okay.
I can do it again, sure. As municipal leaders, what suggestions would you have to promote more engagement in municipal politics and make council more accessible to citizens?
I think it's been mentioned earlier. I think council is accessible. You know, that their cell phones, numbers, their emails, they're all posted on town website. In my short tenure as a councillor, anytime that I've been approached via in-person, email, or text, I've tried to respond in a timely manner. So I do think council is approachable and accessible. I think people just need to feel comfortable to approach them and bring up their concern. First part of that question, don't recall, but
Municipal leaders, what suggestions would you have to promote more engagement?
promote more engagement. So I encourage everyone to come to, should we change the format of council meetings, that community members be able to attend those meetings as well, and to approach administration or council with a delegation, and we'd be more than happy to listen.
Thank you, Candidate Suki. Candidate Cross?
This is getting one.
There you go. Candidate Cross. What are some waste collection or management strategies that you would suggest to reduce unwanted bear activity in town? And how could the town support this? Once again, what are some waste collection or management strategies that you would suggest to reduce unwanted bear activity in town? And how could the town support this?
I think the first thing, like bears anyway, I've got a crabapple tree in my front yard and they like to visit me. So I always make sure, this is what I would suggest to everybody, pick the fruit off the tree and go dump it in the bush. And that way the bear is not coming on the sidewalk and into my yard. Another is of course, waste collection, right? It's hard because some people don't make the Wednesday or the Friday pickups. So again, we were talking, you have those 6-bag limit, maybe let people have a 1-bag limit so they can get their garbage out before they take off. I don't know. So there isn't the tempting for the bears. And I was thinking no, I'm not good. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Cross. Looking at the clock in the wall, we got time. We're gonna have one more question. Joel, come on up. Candidate Shire. Take the skinny one. There we go. There we go.
That's another big one. Holy cow.
Oh my God.
I'm not even looking. That was a novel. It's all about fairness.
The Earth's diameter is 33.6 feet.
It's math, I mean.
There always seems to be a question regarding our local youth and a lack of activities to support them. There also have been many locals starting up their own activities for kids, i.e. basketball, kids Zumba, school sports, etc., and volunteer large chunks of their time to facilitate. Are there any programs or events, Candidate Shire, that you would support being established and operated through the town?
Through the town? Town just needs to support the ones that are doing the volunteering. And I think that's part of getting into council to be able to work things like that together. And people are willing to step up, right? Like, with the Derby, with the Al Dixon Derby, with, Colin and the boys doing the kids Derby, things like that, and getting that fired up again after so many years it was down. It's just gotta keep going, but it's getting support to the volunteers that are doing it and stepping up.
Thank you, Candidate Shire. Candidate Lake. Yeah, sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do you feel as though there are additional revenue generating opportunities for the Peninsula Golf Club? Do you feel as though there are additional revenue generating opportunities for the Peninsula Golf Course / Clubhouse? What opportunities would you encourage and support as a councillor?
Thank you. And certainly losing the Moose Hall has been tough on the municipality. It was a place that I've gone to lots of weddings and lots of New Year's Eve parties. We have the Legion still, and I certainly have always said on council that our role is not to compete with business or volunteers. So I do think that's a wonderful space. It's a beautiful location. It overlooks the lake. I think people are excited and potentially really would want to use that, and it could bring in some money, but I would never want that to be at the cost of the Legion or any other local business. I think that's really important. Our tax dollars shouldn't compete with business. They should augment it. I think there are lots of, a pie that we can grow is those kind of going out and hosting events. So I'd be a part of that, but certainly not at the expense of any of our local businesses or volunteers.
Thank you, Candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler. Candidate Wheeler, are you in favor of the liquefied natural gas project for Marathon? Explain your position.
Cool.
I definitely am in favor if it makes financial sense. If it's going to help compete with propane and bring propane costs down, or it's gonna be a cheaper option for people than propane or heating a home with oil or electricity. If it's gonna help create competition in that sector, then I'm definitely in favor. And based on the research that I've done, I've seen that it should be a cheaper option, so I am in favor.
Thank you, Candidate Wheeler. Candidate Tabushi. What role do you feel tourism should play in Marathon's economy and future strategic plans?
I've always thought, and this is for a while, that tourism wasn't the answer, but since COVID and with restrictions on travel, I see it is a vital part of a lot of economies. And it is something that, although we can't think of our Marathon as a destination point, it would fit some demographics like hunters and fishers, but you understand that between Thunder Bay and Sault Ste. Marie, we're the best waypoint you could stop. And I think that's one of the things we should be able to concentrate on. Our hospitality sector, it's vibrant, and I think that's something that they need to do. There's not a lot of hotel rooms, so I think the waypoint is the answer, but there are parks that we can help promote or in conjunction with, and those are the activities, because there's a lot of traffic on the road.
Thank you, Candidate Tabushi. Candidate Harrison. There seems to be an ongoing need for attracting and retaining professionals to our town. Example, doctors, nurses, teachers, etc. What will you do to make housing available for these people? Do you have any short-term suggestions for attraction and long-term solutions for retention?
As far as the housing, I know it's part of the strategic plan, the current strategic plan. And there are portions and phases of it that have already been implemented or will be implemented soon. So I think that the current council has definitely made a good start in that, but it needs to be continued. As I mentioned earlier, housing is a crisis, and it would definitely be a crisis for any working professionals that came into town. Sorry, I forgot the second part. I got carried away there.
You did very well.
Thank you.
Do you have any short-term suggestions for attraction and long-term solutions for retention?
So short term for attractions, I believe signing bonuses is something that a lot of employers are moving towards, and I don't think it's a bad idea to get them into the community. As far as long-term retention, I think most people, when they get here, they want to stay. However, working professionals such as doctors, et cetera, they are higher paid professionals. So perhaps they feel that going elsewhere, sorry, they
Thank
can
you,
make more
Candidate
money.
Harrison. Candidate Suki. 7 questions. How would you think the town can better support healthy, active living for low-income residents not able to access other subsidies for physical activity? For example, minimum wage workers, or for low, no-cost activities for residents of all ages and abilities, residents with chronic disease or physical mobility challenges. Repeat it again.
Sure.
How would you think the town can better support healthy, active living for low-income residents not able to access other subsidies for physical activity, example, minimum wage workers, and or low, no-cost activities for the residents of all ages and abilities, example, residents with chronic disease or physical mobility challenges?
Right, so I value healthy living, for myself, my family. I try to support those around me to do the same. Again, accessibility is a big issue. There are some nice initiatives in Marathon, like with the Jumpstart program and whatnot, for some of those recreation activities that are a little bit more expensive to take part in. But again, diversifying our activities, right? You know, it's free to go slide down the park, but some of those that may be a little, say, like unable to perform in some of those is, I believe, like for the drawings for the Pebbles Beach Park that they put on town website and advertise, was made to be accessible for those that may have some mobility issues and whatnot. So considering that moving forward, and I think just supporting, like, a lot of what happens in this town is run through volunteers for, you know, doing the Zumba classes. So supporting that and you know, offering our facilities at a reduced rate or no rate if possible to help facilitate some more activities and diversity and recreation.
Thank you, Candidate Suki. Candidate Cross? You. What vision do you have for the former mill site on Peninsula Harbor? And or how might you engage the public with respect to plans for this site? I'll repeat it. What vision do you have for the former mill site on Peninsula Harbor? And or how might you engage the public with respect to plans for this site?
Well, I was on the committee for the boat launch, so hopefully I've got a few ideas, haven't been there. What I want to do there is I've got some ideas. I'd like to have a breakwater so that we can improve sailing access for everyone there, improve tourism. The actual boat site, I always call it the, we've got that fish farm coming, so I'm not going to say anything about that. That's going to provide stuff. But what I'd really like is a Coast Guard, a helipad. I'd like to see people be able to cross from that facility over into Pebble Beach, like go over Peninsula Hill.
You have 15 seconds.
Oh.
You can wrap it up.
Oh,
That's just to let you know you have 15 seconds.
well,
Now we
and
have
also,
5.
and also definitely, if we're gonna have more business down there, there's also a need to maybe extend a road so that we can have a bypass road to get, so everybody isn't on Peninsula Road. And
Now there's the.
thanks.
All right, thank you, Candidate Cross. Well, that concludes the questions and answers for this evening. Now, each candidate will have 2 minutes, only 2 minutes, to wrap up and summarize their evening. Starting off with number 1, candidate Joel Shire. No.
No.
For one, wishing the best for everybody. This is actually be a really good crew if we could all get in. I think there's a lot of good ideas from everybody all across this table. The other part is that hope that when it comes to the voting with all this electronic stuff, I got a few things come across to me today, actually. Some of the oldsters are gonna have a hard time with this, and hopefully they keep getting the information out to help them out when the time comes. As for me, I'm a really diligent guy. I work hard at everything I do, and I'm willing to work for the residents of Marathon. Whatever it is, like, I'd like to be that open door where, they have their ideas and I can bring those ideas to the table and work with a good crew to try and implement whatever the issues are. Pretty much it. Just vote for me.
There you go. Thanks, candidate Shire. Candidate Lake.
Thanks, Al. Like I said, when I first ran for council, I was the young guy. And I certainly ran on this idea of energy and ideas and change. Now I'm the old guy. And I think what's nice about that is you have a record of experience to look at. I think we've had, in the 16 years I've been on council, we've really navigated this community through some difficult changes. There has not been a lot of infighting. You don't see council in the news the way you do in some communities. We've had a really stable mayor, which has been really good. So I think, when I reflect on tonight, and I agree with you, the candidates are excellent. It would be a lovely group to have, along with Greg, obviously, who would have done an excellent job as well. I just think, nobody really spoke about change, and I think that speaks to the job that's been done. Certainly, we work hard as a council team. I feel like the success of that council and the fact that we do make good decisions has come out partly from some of the skills I bring around listening and compromise. I certainly would love to be part of the next 4 years, would love to be elected again, and would thank anybody who would want to do that. Rich.
Thank you, candidate Lake. Candidate Wheeler.
Saying I heard recently that really stuck with me is community over competition. I believe this can be used in many different ways. I think a community is at its best when everybody's working together and not competing with itself. And also same with all the candidates here tonight. I don't see it as we're competing against each other. I think we all have different strengths and different opinions, and it's up to the community to choose the 4 of us that best represent the community. And then the 4 of us will have to work together. We can all have different opinions and thoughts, but together our main goal is to help the community. If I get elected, I want to learn as much as I can about the municipal process and use that knowledge to help the community to be the best it can be. And I'd just like to thank all my friends and family for all the support, and all the community members that I've talked to for the support, and all my co-workers for being a big help too. Thanks.
Thank you, candidate Wheeler. Candidate Tabushi.
Yes, again, I wasn't expecting to run this year, but I really think there was some unfinished business that I'd like to accomplish. I think it would be an honor to serve with anybody at this table on council. I think all candidates have brought ideas, and I think the best thing about this slate is all candidates care about Marathon. And I'd be honored and I would be not disappointed if anyone of the other 4 were elected. I ask for your support because I want to see a conclusion to some of the issues that we have. I think we lost 2 years of COVID that kind of affected my timelines and I guess my goals for the community. But again, I think we have a great slate this year. We have, again, the mayor was acclaimed, so we have that stability and continuity. And again, I just wish everybody the best of luck in the election. And again, the decision will be made by the electorate, and hopefully we can get a better turnout than we had at the provincial election. Please, it is your responsibility. It's your duty as a citizen to vote. So please go out and vote. If you're having any trouble, please contact the town. They will help you through the process. I know change is a little different. But again, this is an avenue where our students who are away at school can vote. It's a way that people who are working 7 in, 7 out can vote. It's an opportunity that everyone can exercise that right to vote. And I'll say it should be a privilege because again, there is so much conflict in the world that we talked about. We're in a stable country, we're in a stable province, a stable community. Let's not let that go to waste. Exercise your right and vote. And that's the main right you should have, is vote.
Thank you, Candidate Tabushi. Candidate Harrison.
Thank you. If there's one thing I'd like anyone to take away from tonight, it's this, that as a proposed future council person, I am committed to listening to each and every one of you, not just those who are outspoken, and to being a voice that represents best interest of all residents of Marathon. I believe that town council needs someone who has a fresh perspective and can bring changes for the better. And I believe that I'm that person. And I'd say changes for the better because there's improvements to be made, but it's already good. So changes for the better. I may not have all the answers right now, and there will be a learning curve if I am fortunate enough to be elected, but I'm committed to advocating for what's right for Marathon and its residents. That includes advocating for all demographics of our population by supporting our community as a whole, ensuring its residents' safety, expanding both our recreation and tourism, and encouraging economic development. Your vote does make a difference and your opinion matters. So I'm respectfully asking each and every one of you for your vote, and I look forward to serving you. Together we will make Marathon even better. So again, like Candidate Tabushi said, please vote. If you need help, there's resources out there to help. The library will have assistance as well as the town of Marathon, and I'm sure any one of us would be more than willing to help as well. So please implement your right to vote. And in closing, I would just like to thank Mr. Cresswell, the District Chamber of Commerce, again, for hosting the event, everyone in attendance, and certainly to my fellow candidates, and good luck.
Thank you, Candidate Harrison. Candidate Suki.
Thank you. So when I first decided to put my name in for council, the reason for doing so, I just felt like my head and my heart were in the right place at that time in my life, with 2 young kids, an established business now for 7 going on 8 years. And the community presence that I've had since moving back in Maryland back in 2015, I get the opportunity to speak to many people throughout the day, and much of what I said today were not necessarily my ideas. It's the ideas of you sitting there, you listening on the screen. And that's what we stand for, right? As councilors or as candidates. And that's a big thing that I'm just sort of trying to achieve or would like to achieve should I be elected. It's just advocating for those people that have, had the privilege to communicate with and get to hear what they have to say. And many of which are good ideas, right? And it's easy for us to sort of sit here and converse and mention all these flashy ideas, right? But it's putting those words into action is where things really gets done, and that's effectively communicating with other council members, with administration, right? Having that open and regular dialogue with them to communicate on certain ideas or how things are going, right? And say, oh, well, there's been a development or a change in this plan, communicate that, right? I think communication is a big thing that can improve moving forward for council and for the town. Continue to collaborate with our First Nation partners, Bitsagon next door and Pickmobert as well. Working with them towards common goals are also important. And just for what I'm trying to bring myself, I've been saying it, just trying to be honest, have a certain integrity and just being transparent with everyone, with whether it be administration, regular council members, or just constituents of Marathon.
Thank you, Candidate Suki. Candidate Cross.
Thank
2
you.
minutes.
Close Marathon. I hope I have checked all your boxes as someone with the strength of character to represent this town. I'm a proud firefighter on call to 3 simple rules: anytime, anywhere, anything. As an officer in the Navy, my devotion to this country is without question. I'm a professional engineer, which is not an easy feat. University, years of work experience, tied to law and ethics. I want to give kids fun places to play, make owning pets easier for everybody, accommodate visitors and shoppers alike. And I want transparency so everyone is in the loop. Finally, I know I am capable of preparing this town for the future, which is so bright, you gotta wear shades. Thank you for listening. Marathon and Mark and X next to Cross.
Thank you, candidate Cross. Well, that concludes the all candidate evening for the town of Marathon. I've been up and down the highway for the last week and a half, visiting the other communities, moderating theirs. I'm gonna be honest with you, a little soft spot in my heart for this town. I want to say thanks to Dana for asking me, and Louise, the Chamber of Commerce and the town of Marathon. And you know, when you talk about municipal politics, and I had Mayor Dumas this morning, I had Mayor Harvey of Nipigon earlier this week. Small town politics, that's where it's at. That's exactly where it's at. You're looking down at these individuals, Greg Valance as well. These are people that gave up their life and soul, not their life, but they're pretty well. Talking about so they can help you, help the town moving forward. Yeah, they could have went to the Sioux and everybody's going to Thunder Bay nowadays, it seems. But they believe in their heart that the town of Marathon is the best place on earth to live. You've got individuals that are here that have never ran for politics before. But why are they doing it? It's because they believe in the town and they believe in you. The candidate said, know your neighbor, love thy neighbor. Why not? We have a lot of new people in town. I'll be honest with you, there's sometimes I'm walking and I see down the street, I don't know who they are. Where the hell did they come from? But they are now new neighbors, new people in Marathon. And why are they here? Because they're like us, they love it. And they want to be here. So on the 24th of October, that is election day. But for the town of Marathon, we are voting online. The polls are going to open on Friday morning, October 14th at 10 a.m. They are going to close Monday evening, October 24th at 8 p.m. There is a video, a 4-minute video that's on the town's website, town's Facebook page, if you have any problems. If you have any problems, by next Thursday, you've not received your voting card, you contact the town, 229-1340, extension 2223, 229-1340, extension 2223. They will help you through the process. There is no phone process. There is no going down to the Legion or going down to the Moose Hall to vote. Everything is online. And as candidate Sabushi suggested, it's more practical and we're hoping to get the numbers up. I want to say thank you for coming out this evening. For those who've been watching it over there online, I never realized how much Louise talked tonight. She never even moved her lips, but all you see is Louise, Louise, Louise. She did a great job. Guys, thank you so much to the candidates. Let's hear it for the candidates. So have a great evening. Thank you so much. Good night.
That's it.
Thanks, Al.